The following is a presentation of the Eagles Sports Network.
Hi again, everybody, and welcome into episode 24 of Mossy Creek Conversations. I'm your host, Michael Watring, and we're pleased to be joined by a Carson-Newman women's basketball legend, four-time all-conference selection and a 1992-93 Conference Player of the Year, and an All-American for the Lady Eagles, Leah Jackson-Smith. Leah Jackson-Smith, thanks so much for taking some time with us. Looking forward to reminiscing about some of your playing days here at Mossy Creek.
Thank you for having me.
So let's start with this. What is your earliest basketball memory, be it high school, be it grade school, be it on the playground? What's the earliest thing that you can remember about playing basketball?
I started playing in fourth grade. And I didn't know if this is what I wanted to do, but my mother said, you're going to get out of the house and do something. So my earliest memory is just playing in fourth grade, and from there, I just never looked back.
I looked through some of the media guides from your time here, and the hobbies was very interesting because it said all sports are your hobbies. You love playing everything. Where did the passion start for you to become an athlete?
With my generation, it was with my cousins, and I was like the only female around the same age as most of the boys. So we pretty much did those who I hung with all the time. So it was pretty much been a tomboy and just hanging out with them. And they played football, they played baseball, they played soccer. So we pretty much did every sport as growing up. But then I just decided not to do that after fourth grade and just stay with basketball.
Why did you decide to focus on basketball? What went into that decision?
I felt like I was better at that sport than any other sport, which, as the boys would say, I was good at all sports, but that one was probably it was something about it that I had the passion for. And I think I was just better at that sport than any other sport in my eyes.
You're 6'1". When did that growth spurt hit? Were you always one of the tallest players on your team?
Ever since kindergarten, I was the tallest player in the classroom. So I've been the tallest in my classroom since kindergarten all the way through high school. But when I decided to play basketball, I was the tallest player. Mm-hmm.
I think in your freshman year, the media guide is the one year where it doesn't list all sports. It lists tennis and gymnastics, sports that not necessarily you would look at and think that those are the quote-unquote common sports at the time. What got you into tennis and gymnastics?
Okay, gymnastics was just something that I wanted to do that I never really got to do, but we learned to do flips on our own, in the yard because we couldn't afford to put in gymnastics or anything like that. But tennis was something that I just liked playing. And I never played in high school. I just played with some friends that played on the team and all that stuff. But I loved that sport. I felt like I should have kept doing it and took it a little bit more serious. But yeah, two different sports that people never would have thought that I would play.
But certainly sports that would give you a little bit of the athleticism that you could be able to translate onto the basketball floor. How much did playing all of these other sports, because in a time period like now in the 2020s, there's so much specialization. You play the one sport that you play, and that's basically all that you do. But you, as we've talked about, a variety. How did that help you find that athleticism that you could translate onto the hardwood?
Just when you do different sports, there's a lot of different things that you can take from that sport. Like, your footwork. If you were doing tennis, your footwork, because you're constantly moving your feet. If you were playing football, you're learning to catch the ball with using your hands. So you got to position your hands a certain way. So like with basketball, that's basically how I learned to catch a basketball, was out there, playing football with those guys and, just learning to use my hands and learning to have body control. All the different sports keep you in that. It's never good just to play one sport. If you play more than one sport, then it teaches you with your body, learning to control your body, using your hands, you're thinking different, footwork. So when you do different sports, it puts you think about all that stuff. And then when you focus on one, you've got everything that you need.
Well, it obviously worked out for you when you get to Science Hill High School, and I think you averaged 23 points, 16 rebounds as a senior. You were a double-double machine as a junior as well. What do you remember about your high school playing days?
Those were probably the best days of my life, was playing high school ball. I got to play with my best friends that I'm still friends with now. So we, it's just, being able to, we had a lot of competition in high school. It wasn't like every year Science Hill was going to win, so that was the best, by being able to be competitive against other teams. And we didn't know who was going to win the conference and stuff like that. So we just got out and played our hardest, and whatever happened, happened. But those memories were good memories, because everybody that played the game loved the game. Everybody that played the game worked hard. Everybody that played the game wanted to play at the next level. It's totally different than what it is now.
Yeah, I think that's a great point, because now there's so much emphasis on the AAU circuit and playing travel basketball versus what it was like back then, where you were on a high school team and that was your high school season. How would you describe how your recruiting process was like playing just high school basketball?
I wish they would do it now, as what college coaches did before. Come back to the high schools and see these kids play high school ball, because AAU, like you said, is totally different, because it's pretty much everyone for themselves to showboat, so the coaches can see what they can do, this and that. But you don't really know if they can play team ball. High school ball, you have to play together. It's a team sport. It's never one showboating. You got to be able to trust your teammates and go out and do what you need to do as a team in high school. But as far as I went to 2 basketball camps every summer, and that was Alabama and Auburn's camps. And then I would never do summer ball, because I felt like I can do other things as far as working on my game, going to play with guys over here and doing things like that. But as far as the recruiting process, they came to the school and they watched.
Totally.
They're not at the big Louisville Convention Center with 15,000 teams there. You know what I'm saying? And you got to go watch here for a little bit, go over here a little bit, go over here a little bit. You're watching the person. They would come to the school and watch that one person that they want to see if this is the person that's going to fit their squad. So, but as far as the recruiting part of it, that was what they need. I think they need to go back to, but AAU has taken big part of it. So
with that in mind, yeah, absolutely. I think that's a great way of thinking about it, because it is so much now. You can watch stuff online, and it's easy to put highlights on tape. And like you said, right, it's a lot more difficult for recruiters to see, can this person handle a team 5-on-5 style basketball game? Mm-hmm. With that in mind, what schools were you considering outside of Carson-Newman?
To be honest, I didn't have any schools in mind except for one, and that was Clemson. I went and visit there. I went and visit Georgia. I visited some big D1 schools. It was where I was doing it all on my own, because my mom had to work, and the coach would help me, but they come and visit during school hours, all the coaches. And it just got to the point that I was like, oh my goodness, I'm so tired. I have no idea what I'm doing. I don't know where I want to go. Some of the schools I've never even heard about. And so when Carson-Newman I think maybe he was the third school that came and visit one day, because I was getting like 2 and 3 schools coming to visit a day. And it was just, I just got tired. And then I told the coach, I said, you know what? I think the next school that comes in, I'm just going to go ahead and commit and sign. And he was like, are you sure? I said, yeah. And it happened to be Coach Carter. It's really weird how it happened, but it happened to be Coach Carter. He asked me, did I know anything? Have I ever heard of Carson-Newman? I said, no, never heard of it. And he said, well, why don't you come and visit? And then he helped me with my process of, do I want to go here or do I want to go somewhere else? Because he understood that I didn't have any help to decide where I wanted to go. And it wasn't that he forced me to come to Carson-Newman. It's just that reason why I came to this, because he took the time out to actually talk to me about Carson-Newman, other schools, what I really wanted. He helped me make the process of going to Carson-Newman.
So if Eddie Carter convinces you to come to Carson-Newman, how important was the fact that he just didn't sit there and say, oh, she wants to come here, we're taking her, and we're not, going to walk her through the process? How important was the fact that he did care, that he wanted to walk through everything with you to ensure that you would make the right decision, even if it meant that you wouldn't come play for his team?
That's what meant the world to me right there. He took me in from day one as like I was his own child. And I think that's what got everybody there. He took us all under and treated us like we were his own kids. And that he was, whether I went there or not, he got to talk to me. He got to help me decide. And he always would say, wherever you go or whatever you do, I just want you to be successful in life. And coming from a man that don't even know you, all he's done is seen you play ball, that speaks volumes.
So when you get to Carson-Newman, you redshirt that initial season. How difficult of a choice was that for you to go from an incredibly talented high school basketball player that was highly featured to now having to basically sit on the bench and go through some practices your first year in college?
It was actually really tough. It was really tough to be redshirted. It didn't really bother me to be redshirted because I didn't understand about the college life anyway. So with him redshirting me and giving me a chance to learn the system, do what I need to do with making sure my grades are where they're supposed to be, still coming to practice, working hard, learning to play harder than what I did in high school, and learning to become a better team player from out of high school to into college. Then, it was hard to sit there and not be able to do all that. But if I had to do it again, I would redshirt again. And like I do now, and when I've talked to kids, I say, hey, look, if you have to redshirt, because that means you're going to learn the system. You're going to get everything you need to get in as a freshman. You got to understand, get your priorities together, do this, do that. And then your next following year, when you go out there to play, you give it your all, and then you don't have to worry about somebody else coming in behind you that might be a little bit better than you taking your spot. You see what I'm saying? Just
absolutely.
Continue to move on.
With that in mind, how did you develop as a player and as a person through that first year of your college experience?
As a player, developing as a player is just take one game at a time, never give up, continue to, if this is what you want to do, then you give it your all. And that's what I did. From when I started playing, I gave it my all. I would give everything on that court, and I would leave it on the court. And then from off court, going on to pursue in life, just by the things that Coach Carter taught us, and by putting God first, and then doing the things that we need to do to be successful in life. So
from there, you get an opportunity to finally hit the hardwood in the 1989-90 season. That team opened the year 11-0, so it seems like maybe you were that secret ingredient to a little bit of a key to success for that group there as your redshirt freshman season began. What do you remember about the experience of getting onto the floor for the first time as a collegiate player and having that great start to a season?
I don't know if I was the ingredients to that season, but getting on there, I was nervous wreck, for one, because I'm playing at a whole nother level than what I played in high school. But having that great start of a season was awesome. And just going out there and do my job. And he told me, he said, I need you to rebound, post up, score, and do your job. Everybody else would do their job. We trust our teammates, and we will have a great season. So that's what we did.
That season started a string where you were a first-team all-conference member each season that you played at Carson-Newman. You were the SAC Freshman of the Year. Why were you able to make such a big impact during your rookie season?
I guess because I was just so excited to be playing. So just by going out there and doing my job and getting the job done, that's, I guess that's how it all happened. I really don't even know how it all happened. Just going to play ball and doing what I'm told and being coachable.
That season, the team goes 27-4. They win 13 of the 14 conference games. You win the first of what would be 2 regular season championships in your time with the Lady Eagles. What do you remember about that team in general? Just the ability that you all had seemingly night in and night out to go out and play quality basketball and win. What made that group so special?
For that group to be so special was a group of girls that put in the work like I did. Like I said, I always come back to saying playing team ball, playing together, but we put in the work. We went out and we took every game seriously. We played to the best of our potential. And we're so competitive that we really don't like to lose. So when we lose, we learn from it. And then we go out and play the next game and do what we need to do there. But and I think those group of girls taught me because they were all older than me. Most of them that I played with that was there were juniors and seniors. So they took me under their wing. They treated me like family. And I guess that's how it all played out for us to be successful.
What I think separated you as a player was just your consistency, because when you go back and you look at the record books, it felt like every single game and every single year that you played at Carson-Newman, you were just level. You consistently put up double-doubles. You consistently made above 50% of your shots. With that, there was a time where there was no emphasis on the outside jump shot. You were a post player. Everybody was scheming against you, game planning against you. How challenging was it in that time to be a true post player, knowing that teams are going to crash against you, provide double teams, and try to defend you in that manner, knowing that it's not like today's game where you can just kick it out, get a 3, and then the defense is forced to go one-on-one against you in the post?
Yeah, you're right. I had no jump shot, no three-point shot. I barely could handle the ball, but I did work and develop a little small jump shot from around the free throw line right in there. But I really never used it because I really felt like no one could actually stop me in the post. So it was just give it. If I couldn't make a move, I'd throw it back out. They'll throw it right back. And we just I just couldn't. The post game was my game, and I made it stronger every year, and just never thought to even develop any kind of outside shot because I knew that wasn't my game. I let everybody else do that.
How did you handle the fact that so many different teams were game planning specifically against you and your prowess underneath the basket, and knowing that every single night, pretty much from the first time that you stepped on the floor, other teams were gunning for you and there was a lot of pressure on your shoulders?
Coach Carter always had told us in the locker room, Leah, they're going to gun for you. So, guys, that means everybody else needs to step up. So if someone else steps up and have a good shooting night, then they got to guard their man. And then it opens it up for me down low. So he just always say, everybody, every game needs to step up so it wouldn't be so much on my shoulders down in the post and everybody's gunning for me. So that's kind of basically what we've done. What we did is everybody step up every night.
Your teams were in contention for a conference championship every year, and then as a junior in 91, 92, you take home your second regular season championship. I think as a senior, you tied for first for a regular season championship. You made it to the NAI district playoffs every single year that you were there. What did it mean for you, not just to take home some of those individual accolades? I mentioned the all-conference selections, the players of the year, you were the freshman of the year in the league, but also to take home the team success that everything was being rewarded as a group all 4 years that you played?
That's what we worked hard for as a group, as a team. And that's what we wanted. And that's what we worked really hard for to get. And that was, I didn't have to take home anything as an individual sport. As long as our team took something home as a group, I was just as happy as being part of that team and not just an individual player.
What was the scouting report? If I know that you've done coaching now, what would you say is the scouting report on you as a player?
If you can stop the post game, or me, if you could stop me, then we have a good shot of playing, of winning the game. And that's what normally what they would say. If you could stop her, we got a good chance of winning the game, because you got a guard that didn't hardly ever shoot, but could probably shoot, just never hardly shoot because she was always distributing the ball and being the floor general. So it would take make someone else beat you. Don't let her beat you.
You had pretty much accomplished almost everything in your career entering your senior season. You were the freshman of the year in the league. You'd been a 3-time first-team all-conference selection. You have 2 SAC regular season championships in your pocket, 3 postseason berths there as well. But as a senior, you win the conference's Player of the Year. Let's start with that accolade that you got. Completed the ensemble there with a 4th consecutive first-team all-conference selection. One of the few players in the history of the league that have ever done something like that. To be named the conference's Player of the Year as a senior, what did that award mean to you?
It was... I was really shocked because there was a lot of good other players in our conference that I felt like probably deserved it more than I did. But, that was just one more icing on the cake, I guess. I took it and went on with it. But I'm not going to sit here and say I deserved it. I just went out and played the game. I played the game to the best of my ability. It's something that I love doing, and everything else fell in place.
The final thing that happened for you during that senior season is you're an All-American. And I think that in today's day and age, there seems to be a lot more spaces for All-Americans. There's a lot of honorable mention picks. There's more teams. Back then, to be an All-American, you legitimately had to be an incredible player. So I pulled up one of the articles from that year, and something stood out to me. You said after you won that All-American award, you said that you thought that you proved a lot of people wrong. Why did you say that?
I was referring back to my high school days and people here in my community. When I played in high school, I always wanted to win. And I had an attitude that when we didn't win, it was all because I either didn't play good or I put everything on me. And a lot of people didn't like my attitude. And they were like, she would never make it. She won't amount to anything because of her attitude. So they thought me being so competitive that my attitude was just nasty because I was so competitive that they just figured I would never make it. So when I went to Carson-Newman and redshirted and started accomplishing all this stuff, and it just kept going year after year after year. And then when I became that All-American, I just wanted to let everybody know that I proved you wrong. I made it 4 years of college, and I left a mark at Carson-Newman.
It was quite the mark because you're still second all-time in career scoring. You are the all-time leading rebounder to this day in the history of the program. 4 years in the books. You accomplished pretty much everything that a player could on the floor with the all-conference selections, the All-American honor, the points, the rebounds. Outside of basketball, how did you grow as a human being and as a person?
By putting God first. When you put God first and then everything else comes second to him, things start falling in place.
Everything fell into place for you as well. And we talked about the Eddie Carter effect, the fact that you basically on the site said, I'm going to commit to the next coach that walks through this door. How much of an impact did a person like Eddie Carter have in your life?
He had a big impact in my life. He was like a father figure that I didn't have in my life. He was someone that you can sit down, talk to, pray with. If we needed anything, he was there. And his wife played a big part of that too, because she gave him to us. As you know, these are his daughters, so she would put herself back for him to help focus on us and to help us become better young ladies.
Eddie Carter, one of the winningest coaches in the history of the entire conference, certainly put together a phenomenal career in his own right. Is there any one game, maybe an event that happened during your time as a player or even as a student that sticks out to you about your career? I mean, obviously, you're not necessarily going to remember a game in mid-February of your sophomore year right off the top of your head, but is there any specific game or event that really sticks out to you that you really remember for whatever reason?
I think it's when we beat Wingate. Wingate was our toughest competition. I can't remember if it was my junior or senior year, but I know we had been playing them and we just could never beat Wingate. And one year we went over there and we beat them at their home place. And that was the one game that I always say that I would never forget, because we worked so hard to beat them at their own game, at their own place.
If I'm looking at it,
that was something that Coach Carter, I mean, I really don't even think he believed that we just beat him. But he always said, I'm going to let y'all figure that one out. So we figured out how to beat him, and we did. So
if I'm looking at it right, that would have been your second to last game in the NAI district tournament. You were at Wingate, and you won 50-46 in that contest. So I'm sure a special memory for you. With all of that in mind, and what you've done as a player and what you've done as a person at that point, how much did Carson-Newman shape and mold you into the person that you are now?
A lot. I came in there day one with an I don't care attitude. I came in there with not having really anybody to give me, to where I had discipline and, to set me down and tell me that I could be somebody. It's just a lot of different things that I've taken from Carson-Newman that I put in myself to make me be where I'm at today and do the things that I'm doing now.
When you look back now over the decades that have passed since you've played, and now that you have students that you've taught, you've had a bunch of students that have come through, and your family that has now been able to come through, what do you tell them about your playing days as a collegiate basketball player?
I usually there's a few girls that I've coached from my high school that reminds me of myself. So I try to sit down, I talk with them, try to figure out what they want in life, where they want to go, what they want to do, how successful they want to be. I try to do that with not only the girls on my team, but the school. I'm at an alternative school, so it's tough. These kids don't have fathers, they don't have mothers, they just do all kind of things. And I tried to let them know that, to try to help them figure out a different alternative for them. And I think if I hadn't went to Carson-Newman and learned how to put God first and do things in steps that are ordered by God, then I don't think I would be able to help back here in my hometown.
One thing that I think sticks out, talking maybe about the All-American comments that we just had there a moment ago, and you can kind of see it over your right shoulder there. It's your All-American, or your Carson-Newman Hall of Fame plaque. You were inducted roughly 10 years ago or so with that. How much did that mean to you as a person to have your recognition and now your picture, your bio placed right out front and center outside of the gym that you played in?
That was crazy. That was crazy. I never thought that. Had no intentions of ever getting that. Didn't even think about it. And I think we were on an AAU trip with my youngest, and David Barger called me and said, "You're going into the Hall of Fame. I need you to prepare a speech." And I was like, "What?" But it was crazy. It was really crazy. And like I said, everything just kept falling in place. Just falling in place. I look at that sometime to this day and be like, man, am I really in the Hall of Fame for Carson-Newman? In the Hall of Fame for the South Atlantic Conference, in the Hall of Fame for my high school. Never had any intentions of doing all that.
but you have. And with what you just talked about with some of the younger girls that might remind yourself of you as a younger player, that you have that tangible success that you can sit there and talk about, hey, I was just like you when I was 15, 16, 17, and look what I accomplished with, the all-conference picks, the Hall of Fames that I'm in now, and not just that, but what you're currently doing for your career. How much does that help you get your point across and your message across to some of these players and students that might not necessarily see that in themselves at this point?
Mm-hmm. Sometimes I feel like, I'm talking like till I'm blue in the face, like I'm never getting this point across. I'm just talking. They're not listening. They're not going to. But I believe they are listening. I really believe they are listening. But they're going to do it on their own time. They're not going to do it just because I'm saying, you remind me of me. This needs to stop now. This needs to change. You need to do this. You need to do that. I really think they feel like right now I'm living me. I'm living my life. I'm doing what I want to do. And then I think eventually down the road, once they finish, if they even go to college, even if they play sports, I think hopefully it's not too late, but they'll realize what I was saying. And then that's when their lives will change.
What's a big piece of advice that you stress, or perhaps maybe a piece of scripture or Bible story that you really keep coming back to when you give advice to some of these younger players?
Well, I really can't use any kind of scriptures or telling them to put God first, because we don't allow that in our school systems, or talk about God to our kids for basketball. Now, we do pray before games, but we have to let them initiate all that. But, I just tell them, don't be afraid. I think it's somewhere in there like Joshua 1:9 about being afraid. Don't be afraid. Fear not. Just don't be afraid. Take that leap of faith and step out and do what's right.
One thing I think that a lot of parents will talk about is they want to give their kids a better opportunity than they had. Well, I think the same can kind of be said for student athletes, because when you played, women's sports weren't necessarily as highly focused as they are now. Right. But the women's basketball program under Mike Mincy and the group, All-Americans consistently, a NCAA tournament perennial team, an Elite Eight a few years back. How much does it give you joy seeing the growth of the program over the time from when you played to right now?
Carson-Newman was on my youngest daughter's top of her list to go there and play. And she decided not to, but that program is at an elite level. I hadn't had a chance to go back and watch him play because of the way my schedules are, but he has taken that program from, I'm going to say after we left, because, I still think we could beat what he's got now. But I think he has taken that program from being good to great. And I keep up with the highlights on there. C.B. Pierce played, Braylon played AAU with my daughter. Lindsay and Sky, all of them girls played AAU with my daughter. And, so I value those girls too, because those were good players. Those girls are good players. And he keeps getting good players in, and they're going to just keep rising to the top. Eventually, he's going to have to come out of that Division II. So I don't know if he's going to want that. He's going to have to come out of that Division II and start playing up in the D1 levels. But I wouldn't put it past him that they cannot play D1. The way these girls play now, or D1 material. So he's made that team from good to great.
You mentioned your daughter and the fact that you do coach and you do have some AAU. How much has the game of basketball in general changed from the time that you played to right now?
Like I said, there was really hardly no AAU at all when we were growing up. Now they have AAU. So they play all year round. We never played all year round. We played during season, then we go, just play a little summer ball here and there. We do individual camps to get better. But basketball has changed a whole lot from the time I was growing up to now. Like I said, you get colleges calling you. You got Huddle. We didn't even have Huddle. We videotaped our games, but they have Huddle. You don't even really have to go send anything to coaches anymore. They just go right on Huddle and pull you up. They got all this social media. They got so much stuff that can help kids get where they need to be now. They just got to learn to take advantage of it, and they don't take advantage of it. Stuff that we didn't have, we had to go out and learn and do things a different way that they can just do now. We didn't have cell phones, so we can't record nothing. We didn't have cameras, but everything has changed. It's a whole nother level for kids being able to get recruited and kids being able to go to the next level and play, whether it's D1, 2, D3, we didn't have that. And these kids need to learn to take advantage of that and use it the right way and get where they need to be.
You've been very generous with your time. I'll get you out of here on this final question. For players, and I guess really even people in general that have been dealt perhaps a hand similar to yours where some people are doubting you, you're not sure what potentially you can become, and with everything that you were able to accomplish, what advice would you give someone in a similar spot that you were in when you were in your teens?
Don't listen to people that badmouth you. Don't listen to people that don't believe in you. But you have to believe in yourself and prove people that you can do what's right.
Key words of advice. Really appreciate your time, Leah Jackson-Smith. It's been an absolute joy reminiscing on your career. Congrats on all of your success, and hopefully we can see you here at Holt Fieldhouse sometime in the future.
All right. Thank you.
Go is
Eagles.
Talons up. That is episode 24 of Mossy Creek Conversation. Leah Jackson-Smith, a 4-time first-team all-conference pick, a former SAC Player of the Year, a All-American for the Lady Eagles program, and a SAC and Carson-Newman Hall of Famer. I'm Michael Wattrang signing off. We'll talk to you again down the line. Until then, thanks for listening and watching here on the Eagle Sports Network.